Hey Joe, it's Folks here.
Hey Kelly, it's everyone here.
And today we're going to talk about how Kelly has grown her print-on-demand store to over $17,000 in sales. Kelly, thanks for being here. I appreciate your time and I'm excited to dive in today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Why don't we start? If you can just give everybody like a little bit of an overview of how long the store has been open, how many orders you have on the site, total amount of sales dollars as well, and then we'll start to dive into like how you're actually making it all happen.
Okay, yes. Let's see. Well, my store has been open for like 3 months now, maybe. I have
Awesome.
about 190 sales on the store total, and I've done about 17,000 in sales. So it's been going pretty well
Awesome. And you're profitable.
for the most part. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we'll
Yeah.
dive into that for sure. Ultimately, where are you've made almost 200 sales, $17,000 in revenue. Where are those coming from? Like, how are you promoting the products?
Yeah, so the majority of my sales come from Facebook ads. I advertise on both Facebook and Instagram, but I've noticed like
Cool.
the majority of stuff comes straight from Facebook. So,
Cool. And you're selling on Shopify?
right. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So you started in October. I know you attended a few trainings with me back last year in around October. Talk to me about like prior to this store. How did you get into POD? How did you discover print on demand? Did you do anything prior to this store with print on
Yeah.
demand? Just basically tell your story.
Yeah, okay. So prior to starting this Shopify store, honestly, I just kind of like found print on demand, like the whole business model on YouTube. I was just kind of like looking for
Sure.
ways to make some like extra side money, things like that, supplement my income, and came across print on demand. And I started on Etsy. So I was doing like some stuff on Etsy. I had like kind of like a general store where I was just throwing
Sure.
up different signs and things like that. And that didn't work out for me. So
When did you start your first Etsy shop?
So I started playing around with it like mid-August.
Hmm.
So I was kind of doing stuff on there August and September. And then like the end of September, my shop got shut down. And
Mm.
yeah, I had no idea why. Like I couldn't figure out why. I tried to contact them, couldn't get any answers. So then I was like, all right, well, I liked doing this,
Yeah.
but I want to keep doing it, obviously, but I don't want to have that like risk factor. So
Sure.
that's kind of when I got into researching it more and found your stuff on Shopify and started that.
Awesome. Like prior to doing the Etsy, had you had any like prior experience doing anything like this, like an online business, graphic design, or anything like that?
No, not really. Like in our lives, we have my significant other and I do business together and I do some marketing stuff for that. I have some experience with that, but nothing like online based or anything
Sure.
like that.
Cool. When you transitioned to Shopify, how was that? Did you find like the process of opening your store difficult? Like just basically share a little bit about that process. Because I see a lot of people out
Yeah.
there that make that jump. And once they start doing it, they realize, oh, this is actually, kind of simple. One of the jokes that I make sometimes is we live in the internet age. And a lot of us have, even if we don't think we have it, but we have experience with computers, we have experience with things, and we can kind of piece it together. Was that your experience or was it hard?
It was a bit of a learning curve,
Sure,
just learning the system and, just like the different things like that. I did have some
sure,
experience in website designing, that I did some stuff with that a bit prior, but that was more like WordPress based.
sure,
So it was a little bit difficult, but once I kind of like learned it, I did a lot of research on YouTube and things like that and was able to
sure,
figure stuff out. It wasn't too bad once you figure out the
sure.
program.
Awesome. I know people down in the YouTube comments will likely ask, but we are purposefully not going to reveal Kelly's store at all just for her privacy and what she's doing, but we will talk a little bit about it. Kelly, you started a store. The niche and the types of stuff that you are selling to, were those things that you were trying on Etsy too, or was this like a fresh thing when you started Shopify?
Just a fresh thing. So when I started researching the Shopify stuff, and I actually had found your YouTube channel and watched like a ton of your YouTube videos on it, and then decided I wanted to do a niche specific store,
Sure.
I just kind of started brainstorming, things that I was interested in, that I had knowledge on,
Yep.
that I thought would actually be desirable, for other people to
Sure,
buy.
sure. That's perfect. I think choosing a niche that you're interested in is something that I'm sure you found this, like as it's come to like design ideas and just building the site. I've seen your site, obviously. I think it looks
Yeah.
awesome. It matches your niche, and I think you've done a really great job. So I think choosing a niche that you were interested in was a great move. Talk to me
Yeah.
about your your store, what are you selling for products on it?
Yeah, so I would say right now I have about like 15 different products that I'm selling on the store actively. I've tried some things that didn't work out, and a couple things have really stuck. My main products have really been hoodies and like all over print ones
Yep.
and metal signs. I've done really well with metal signs.
Awesome. Are you making your own designs or are you outsourcing any of that?
I'm making all of my own designs right now. I'm using like
Cool.
AI to get
Yep.
some concepts and then
Yep.
editing them and, stuff like that. But
Sure.
eventually I definitely plan to outsource to kind of grow, my business
Sure.
more.
How many designs total do you think you have on the store?
I would say total, there's probably at least 20 designs. I would
Mhm.
say, like my hoodies, I have maybe like 4 or 5 different designs with different color schemes and things like
Yep.
that. And then the metal signs, I probably have about 20 designs for those alone. So,
Awesome. And you obviously are doing well with that. I think the reason I asked the question is because sometimes people think in order to like have a great store, they need to have like 100 or 200 designs on the
right.
site. And your store is really well put together. Kelly, if you're watching this, anybody, like Kelly has done, not saying that you listen to me, I'm just saying you've done something that I talk about doing a lot is building a store with a rather small product catalog that does like a couple of specific things very, very well. You have great hoodies, you have great signs, and you've done a good job at creating a very exclusive product catalog. So publicly, good job.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Now, some of your designs are personalized. Talk us through how that process works for you. Like, what does your workflow look like?
Yeah, so for me, it's not too hard. I would say a few times a day, I check in with the Shopify app, see what I have in for orders, and then I just try to fulfill them like right off. That way, there's no delay in production or shipping. But the actual personalization process is pretty simple. I do it myself. I just have the design file saved, and then I'm able to just go in and edit like the name or whatever it is that the person is personalizing on it
Sure.
and then just upload that to the program I use. I actually use Key Launch for the majority of my personalization products,
Sure.
and I find their site pretty simple to use for that.
What's the most amount of orders you've had in a single day since starting the store?
I would say probably my best day was about 10 orders, and that was about 2 to 3 weeks before Christmas. So
Yep.
things were picking up pretty heavy right around there,
And how
especially the
long?
personalization products. Those were
Yeah.
definitely the
Awesome.
biggest at that time.
How long on that biggest day do you think it took you to personalize all the orders?
I would say like no more than a half hour.
Good,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of times people, when they hear about, personalization and things, they envision themselves like slaving over their desk for
Right.
4 or 5 hours or something. And like
Yeah.
ultimately, if you got a good process in place, then it can be very, very quick. So in terms of the store, we talked about the type of the store, obviously not, your niches, you got your products in there,
Right.
personalization. Before we jump in and talk more about like what you're doing with marketing, people always want to know when it comes to running your own Shopify store, dealing with your own customers, how much customer service do you find yourself doing? Is it like a huge chore? Is it something that's not really, even a factor? Like just talk us through like how many customer inquiries you get on a regular basis.
Yeah, it's honestly not really much of a factor for me. I do maybe 15 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes a day in customer service, and that's
Sure.
not even every day. So that would be maybe like 3 to 4 days a week. And with that, it's mainly just like inquiries on shipping times, or if
Yep.
somebody had like, they put in the wrong shipping address or they wanted to change something or whatever, but it's usually
Yep.
not an issue.
And that stuff you can do basically right from your phone, right? Like as you're sitting around,
Right.
emails come through, you can respond. So I ultimately just asked that question because, again, a lot of times people, when they are making the jump to their own store, they worry about customer service. And that's never been something that I've found to be a huge, time factor. And I always want to make sure to ask the question. In
Yeah.
terms of marketing, earlier you mentioned that you are primarily running ads on Facebook and on Instagram. Talk me through starting that. Was it something you were like nervous about? How much budget did you have at the beginning that you were like willing to start testing with? Basically, just kind of explain what you did to get into the world of paid advertising.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I had some experience previously with Facebook ads. Like I said, I do some of that stuff with my regular day job. But for me, I really just kind of used your process that I found. I started with the $1
Sure.
product ads, the PPE ads, and those were really helpful, to test different
Sure.
audiences and things like that and kind of learn the system before I jumped in with like a bigger budget.
Sure. Nowadays, did you start running ads back in October? Like when you started the store, or was it after the fact?
I think I started ads in November, like the beginning of November is when I started
Sure.
running.
And then things kind of ramped up like leading up to Christmas. And then, now here we are at the end of January and you still have some ads on, but like if you were to look back over the last, couple months, what do you think your average daily ad spend has been?
So I would say daily when I was running more ads. So right now I'm only running about 3 ads. I was running up to like 6 or 7 different ads, and I was
Sure.
probably around $50 to $60 a day on
Sure.
ad spend.
Cool. So you're pretty modest, right? It's not like you're out there,
Yeah,
running hundreds of dollars or even thousands of dollars. I think a big
right.
myth that, kind of exists in the world of like marketing is that if you don't have thousands of dollars to throw at an ad, then you can't get results. And I always say that, daily budgets doesn't really impact your probability of making sales.
Right.
Meaning if you have a lower budget, it's just going to be slower, right? If you have a higher budget, you're going to show the ad to more people quicker. And you're proof here of averaging over the last couple months around $50-$60 a day, now at almost 20,000 in sales, which is pretty cool. So good stuff. How often are you like in there like messing around with the ads? Or, once have you found that you're the type that like looks at the ad every 5 minutes to see how it's doing? Or do you like allow yourself to step away a little bit?
Yeah, so definitely at first, especially when I'm running the PPA ads, I'm in
Yep.
there like multiple times a day, checking them,
Yep.
seeing how they're doing, getting
Mm-hmm.
excited, seeing what's performing. Once the ads kind of get going and get on their own little like track and get situated, I'm
Sure.
usually like once or twice a day. Definitely in the beginning though, I'm checking them more and kind of keeping an eye on things.
How about like what you do when a sale comes through? I know for me, I remember to this day, the first time I ever heard the like Shopify cha-ching sound, I was actually driving in the car and I had my phone hooked up to the car speakers. So that cha-ching like played
Yeah.
through the speakers at full volume. It was kind of alarming. But do you remember your first sale?
Yeah, I was actually at work. Like I said, my significant other, I worked together when I was
Sure.
downstairs in my office and I heard it come on. And I just remember I ran upstairs and I'm like freaking out. I was so excited that I finally made a sale. So
Yeah, yeah.
it was cool. Once they start coming in, it's really exciting.
And that came through an ad, that first one, or something else?
Through an ad, yeah.
Nice. How quick did it happen after you turned the ad on?
It took about 3 to 4 days for the
Cool.
ad to start producing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And now at this point, you've heard that sound almost 200 times.
Yeah, it's been
Nice.
exciting.
Nice. What would you say is something in your business right now that is like a focus for you, right? You've kind of started, you've got a foundation, you've definitely validated your store, you've validated your concepts, your niche, your products, your designs, you've done marketing, you've got people from social media to your store. What's next? In a brief sense, like what are you focused on? How are you trying to grow from here on out?
Yeah, so right now the big thing for me is I'm trying to find more like products with high profit margins that will work
Sure.
within my niche, and then trying to find different ad audiences and scale those ads, so I can increase those sales for maybe like 3 to 5 a day, hopefully 5 to 10 a day,
Sure.
and just
Sure.
keep growing.
Sure. Awesome. Now, before Kelly and I filmed this video, I kind of filled her in on what I was going to ask her. But Kelly, I have a curveball for you.
Okay.
What would be your biggest advice to someone watching this? And when I say biggest advice, it doesn't have to be like an elaborate answer, but like something simple. Like, what would be your biggest tip to someone watching this video, trying to get started, trying to figure out what they want to sell, overwhelmed by all the things? What would you tell them now, being like 3-4 months into your store with some success, to help them to get started?
So I think for me, the biggest piece of advice would be to just try, just start, get going, get those ideas you have, get them going, get them out and start running ads on them and seeing if they work. And if they don't work, take them down, try again. Like I
Sure.
said, at first I started with Etsy, and that's basically what that process was when I was on there, was just putting different products out, different designs out, and seeing what people liked.
Sure. And getting a
Yeah.
taste and having
Right.
fun. I always tell people if you never start, then you're never going to have fun, because if you're always just like building things and you're always just like stressed, like if it's good enough or not, then you're not actually to the point where you're running it and you're having fun. And if you're choosing a niche like you are that you're personally interested in, like running that store is fun. Seeing social media comments is fun. I've gone through Kelly's ads that she's running, and she has a whole bunch of comments from customers that are like commenting on her ads. Like, I just ordered mine, or I just received mine. They're sharing photos of her products and stuff. And that's where the fun happens. So get started is great advice.
Yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in that like planning phase. You want everything to be perfect. You want to just kind of nail it right off, but it's a learning process, and it really is.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, Kelly, thanks again. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody watching, but I appreciate the time.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
Cool.